Hi, this is Mrs. Besenius, Modern U.S. History teacher at Ridgeview High School. The class's curriculum starts in the 1950s, so basically post-World War II. And the first time I taught this class, in the winter of 2018, I knew I wanted to have students interview Vietnam-era veterans from our area. And while students have thoroughly enjoyed and learned so much from each veteran interviewed, I did have two students who wanted to capture a World War II veteran story. So even though it wasn't part of our particular class's curriculum, one cold January morning a year and a half ago, Jaeden Albers and Ezra Miller volunteered to sit down with Galva's France Wanberg. And today you get the opportunity to hear these two young men's interview with France, who was just 20 years old when he enlisted in 1941.
France was asked about his training after enlisting in the Army Air Corps. He went through basic in Texas and Michigan, and then found out he'd be in a communication squadron that would direct air traffic in a certain area. This would require some special training in both Florida and California.
Then when we sent to Orlando, Florida, to radar school, down there about a month on Orlando, Florida.
After completing radar school, he was stationed in California.
Then I went to service and then was stationed out in California. Our squadron was what we did with radar. We had a huge big plotting board, maybe 1,000 square miles on there. This machine would pick up, every plane would fly over and pick it up. Is it friendly or is it enemy? The airplane had the signal that come out. It's a friendly American plane. If the enemy, shoot them down.
It was fascinating to learn that France was part of the 1st Fighter Control Squadron, who in the fall of 1943 set sail on a ship that was a combination of a troop and cargo ship. The ship was named the Cape San Juan, and it had just over 1,400 passengers aboard. Here, France will describe being out on the vast Pacific Ocean.
October 27th of 1943, we set sail from the Frisco Harbor in California out to the Pacific Ocean. We had no escort. 1,500 men on board and no protection. But you see, I tell you what, you don't send 1,500 men on the ship out in the water with no escort. We had no escort. We had no mine layer to pick up the submarine, nothing. Just like I put a ship in the middle out there, no protection, no nothing. We'd sit and duck. We were, they got us to it.
It was interesting to hear what it was like adjusting to life on a ship versus what he was used to in Galva, Iowa. France told us about eating food from a can that didn't taste good, and how sharks followed their ship because the men would throw their unappetizing leftovers overboard and the sharks then would eat it.
But on the ship we have food and canned stuff. Canned, everything is canned. Because it keeps that way. See, every night, ship in the evening they dump food over, extra food, dump over behind the ship. Well, the sharks, they follow that ship a mile, don't they? They may go 100 miles, get the food, don't they?
It turns out, sharks weren't the only thing the men had to worry about. Due to warm temperatures and no AC on the ship, France was sleeping on deck on the early morning of November 11th when their ship was struck by a Japanese torpedo.
So November 11th, that morning, we slept on the deck. It's hot down below, with no air conditioning all day, you know. Looked out of the water, and here come, oh my gosh, here come the periscope. All once the torpedo hit our ship, hit the back end of the ship where the oil tanks were, and the oil went over the water. Order, abandon ship. Put my life jacket on, made a cork. Cork won't sink, will it? Put on, climb over, no on the water. Sharks all around us. Oil on the water with the mess. All day long, hung on the Liferaft. Once in a while I hear somebody yelling, they do grab it and drag them away.
So within 15 minutes of the ship being hit by a torpedo, France had made his way into a life raft, but there wasn't enough room for all the men on the raft, so they took turns hanging onto the side with their legs dangling in the ocean, which was covered in a thick layer of oil.
And all this run over, all around the ship for miles was nothing but oil on the water. Oil, oil, oil. The whole body was just like I take a bare arm pour in the body. It was a mess. See, but the oil got my eyes and I could hardly see. I do like see that. But the torpedo hit the oil tanks and the oil. Lucky they catch fire. Could have, lucky there.
France went into a lot of detail about both the oil they were all covered in and the sharks lurking in the water.
The life raft is on. Was supposed to hold 15 people. We had 45 on her. You see, the sad thing was, did not have enough life rafts. For how many, 1,400 some men on there, enough life rafts. So the whole 15, we had 45 on the life raft. Had to hang on outside and inside all day and all night, you know. Got to keep alive, you know, right? You know, the sharks don't get you, that's the main thing. But sharks like chewing legs. They might chew your legs if we could eat and your leg would be there. Or but if drag them in the water, drag them away. Chew them up, eat them up. It'll be a thing good to them, you know. Anyway, so all day long, we throw in the water. No help, no escort. Sharks are on oil, everything. Nighttime come, still no rescue, still no help, no nothing out in the ocean.
When asked what he remembered was going through his mind from the point of being hit by the torpedo to floating in the life raft, France had this to say.
Feeling the ship began to tip.
Yep.
And I said to myself, I hope I make it over here. I don't want to drown. Could have, you know. But the ship began to sink like it, you know, like. I want to come out alive this year. And I can't swim. I can't swim a talk. My thought was to get rescued out of the water. And I thought, what if this oil would catch fire? Well, when it caught fire, we didn't bother to burn to death. See, that the oil was that deep in the whole water, didn't it? And so on. I just hope that we don't have a fire there, because you know, all day long and all night, you know, sharks are on the sharks. Sharks are having a man screaming, and he pull your leg and drag him away, and they're gone. But there's a lot of praying.
The next morning, a Navy ship came to their rescue, about 30 hours after they've received their original abandoned ship orders.
Next morning, about around 10 o'clock, one of the guys yelled and said, "Looks like to me, here comes the ship." It was American destroyer, the McCullough. He's heading back to the States, but he signaled to pick these guys up. The McCullough picked up 685 men out of the water, with soaking wet, covered in oil, a mess. Got on the Navy ship, and took all the clothes off, and they took a shower, you know, put their clothes on, and they fed us. We still had 2 days to get to Fiji Island to a hospital with a mess.
About 20 of the men died in the attack, and the majority of the survivors needed medical treatment. They were taken to the closest hospitals and rest camps.
The Americans, and the beginning of World War II, the Americans built a big military hospital in the Fiji Islands. In fact, it's still here today, I think. Big military hospital on Fiji Islands to take care of all the wounded from New Guinea. Bring them out to treatment. It's beautiful. Because see, I couldn't see it. Oil got the hospital, and I laid there, and every 6 hours they put 2 drops in the eyes to get rid of oil. But I ended up, I said that 6, 7, I could see pretty good. Couldn't see any dancing girls, but I could see good. oh yeah. Right. And then they took it to Brisbane in Australia. 2 in the hospital, because of my eyes. Out in the country, they built a hospital in the country out there. When I got to see, but I got the one that was a bunch of kangaroos running right around. Kangaroos, oh yeah. But I tell you what, the cooks use lamb lard to make cookies, and they were terrible. Never use lamb lard to make cookies.
After they'd been in Australia a while, they got all new equipment and helped protect the Australians from the Japanese.
First, British New Guinea. See, New Guinea divided in half and half. Half is owned by the Dutch, half is owned by the British. Dutch New Guinea, British New Guinea. And so we were stationed in Dutch New Guinea. We had a base there, an airport there, and we could send planes up and so on. The Jap come in and bomb it too once in a while, oh yeah. I tell you, the sad thing was in New Guinea, the women was there too, hospital, and the women had a base there too, and they were sitting one night watching a movie out in the open, and the jet plane come over and dropped the bomb right among the women, killed 102 of them. Right now, got them right now. That's war, right? But the darn Japs sit in a coconut tree, and they pick us up, pick you up, pick you up, pick you up, pick you up. Yeah. I was lucky one.
While in Australia, France got to see 2 American icons, General MacArthur and Bob Hope.
Australia, waiting to get new equipment, and we walked by the headquarters, the American headquarters. Guy come on and said, within 1 minute, General MacArthur's going to walk through that door, and I want you to give a hand salute, and I don't want to slap your hand salute, I want a real one. Oh, the Bob Hope, too, I tell you about Bob Hope. I'm not sure kind of Bob Hope. We was in the station in Glendale, California, on an air base, the control tower. Bob Hope flew in, come up to the control tower, I said, gentlemen, I want to thank you for bringing me in safe. Bob Hope shook hand, all 5 of us in there.
France was also in the Fiji Islands, New Guinea, and the Philippines as well.
To New Guinea, to Philippines. In the Philippines, and set up a base there in the Philippines. I tell you, the Japanese treated the Filipino terrible, especially the women. They raped the women and so on. They were Japanese weren't very nice. They was, oh, here come the Americans. We're glad to see the Americans.
France shared this as the interview was concluding.
I had a good, like I said before, man, I feel lucky to come out here there, because a lot of my buddies didn't make it, and I feel bad about that.
France said that moving forward, there were 4 things he considered himself blessed to have: a good family, a church, a community, and a country.
Well, I was to serve my family, my church, my community, and my country. Very good fun, and I just feel good about life, being on you guys. Makes me young again. I'll be 97 next week.
I'd like to thank Jaeden and Ezra for doing this project on their own time. Their interest in history and quest to share a local World War II veteran story has hopefully brought France's story to life for our communities. It reminds us that every person has a story to share. We just need to take the time to listen. So if you know a veteran, reach out to him or her, because each veteran has a unique story to share, and we can all learn from their experiences.